On today's Minute of the Apes, we discover what interesting noises Sean can make with his body alone.
And then there's this one. I can't do the cork popping here. All right.
We have lost viewers. We're going on. No.
And then there's this.
I love it.
I can't get the pop to work. There we go.
Okay.
Sorry.
Exercise put an ape maker human down. Then talks. You're the keepers of the divine bound.
We are determined to know what the apes want. War or peace?
And if it is man's destiny one day to be dominated, then oh please God, let him be dominated by such as you.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies 1 minute at a time, and I promise we will not spend another, let's see, how long did that open
20
take?
minutes.
That open was 1 minute, and I swear to God, if Sean actually went to real flatulence, I was going to shut this bitch down.
All right, yeah, I do have my hand. Watch this.
No. Poor Richard's over there about to faint. He's laughing so hard. Hey, Richard, if you faint, just pick up that red phone behind you and call the emergency service. Oh, it's good to record with you guys when we can actually giggle. You know, it's the one thing that I love doing with you guys, and it's the one thing that really doing this podcast I hate during the pandemic age, that we can't be in the same room and actually pee ourselves with laughter.
My dog is coming and checking on me right now.
Hey, Dad, are you okay?
I know.
All right, so here we are. We're at minute 48. Is that correct?
Yeah, minute 48.
All right. Sean, tell us what's going on, minute 48.
All right, we start minute 48 with somebody saying reconditioning applications have to be made out in triplicate, and it ends with McDonald taking Caesar away.
All right, let's take a listen to minute 48 of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Reconditioning applications have to be made out in triplicate.
There's been a disturbance in the North Plaza. What kind of disturbance?
McDonald speaking. Yes, sir. You want me to turn Caesar over to Inspector Colt? Am I to understand he's on your Achilles list?
Mr. McDonald, do not question an order.
No, sir, I'm not questioning the orders. It's just that... Well, I sent him out on an errand. He should be back momentarily. Yes, sir. I'll do just as you say. Come.
As in minute 48, we have a courtyard's worth of gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, imported apes, Caesar, planets worth of humans, and still no Armando. I don't think he's coming back, but again, I haven't seen the end of the movie. It could be a flashback. I don't know.
You know, I don't think you're going to get him. Oh, good Lord, I just really... once again, to Richard's point, this is such a phone-heavy 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And... I hate to start with this, but McDonald, have we noticed how dramatic he picks up the phone in this moment? He literally does a sweeping pickup.
Well, what it is it's a obviously a camera direction of, and the camera's on you. Pick up phone now.
Yes.
We're coming off of a couple of aggressive lines from the staff. I needed triplicates. Like, I don't know why we needed this extra to shout. It's not even in the script.
Well, they're just showing it's a busy room with people on all the phones.
Right, we had to hear that. We're going to need it in triplicate. Like, there was just – we were setting the stage for him because he pops up again in the next minute maybe for a scene, for a moment. But it was just kind of weird.
There's a revolution happening underground that we know nothing about, but the bureaucracy still goes on.
I find this whole minute of let's call McDonald, let's tell him he needs to get the ape. Very odd for people that are ready to kill an ape. Why did they not just send a squad of troops to get the ape? Why? If anything,
why leave it to McDonald to bring the ape?
It's a weird idea. Suddenly, this escalation to just sort of, hey, by the way, could you bring Caesar over here, please? It's weird. If anything, it feels as though this should be escalating so much that McDonald overhears the order that they're sending someone to get him, and then he goes, and that's when he takes Caesar. But that would then also motivate that character and tell us about that character's intent.
Trying to maybe having some sympathy for the ape.
Yeah, it just feels real weird for somebody this maniacal to just sort of go, hey, by the way, guy that I don't really get along with, could you bring the ape to me?
But also, all right, we can think of this in racial / ethnic terms. You're having an African American man take somebody who is considered a slave, basically an ape, and having to do the work with him now. So is he going to stand with somebody that he sees as oppressed and can have a familiarity with, or is he going to follow orders and have him executed?
Well, and I think that if instead of getting a direct phone call, if he overhears the order and acts upon that information, that dilemma you're just proposing, that's a much more interesting and truthful narrative than, hey, by the way, pick up the prince's phone, bring me the ape.
Well, no. What I'm saying is he's been given an order, so is he going to obey it or not?
Yes.
So that's the ethical problem with him. Instead of I'm going to be sneaky and take you away, he has been said, take him over here and we're going to kill him at some point. So is he going to follow the order or not?
And I get that. I get that that's actually probably where they're going. I just doesn't, for the tone.
You should understand my point and disagree with it.
By the way, didn't I fire you in the last episode?
Wait, am I getting paid for this?
Yes, you did. You've not gotten your check.
And he fired you at the most opportune time because you know one collect the extra.
I know.
It's just
he's furloughing me.
It goes back to the whole. Oh shit! It goes back to the whole thing that I was talking about. The weird tone, how it stays like this. Even you can have darkness, but tones can become different where they escalate to the point of excitement, and this doesn't have any excitement. They've not taken their disdain and wanting to kill the ape earlier and done anything with it that takes the tone above where it was before. And I think that's my whole reason for this. I wish that they had done something where this is more subversive, where he's like, oh, I've heard it and I got to get you out of here. And then if there's the impending, we see the troops, we cut to a shot of them coming towards it. It creates a lot more tension than this passive nature.
But we do get him saying, basically lying and saying, hey, I sent him out on an order. So he's going to go into work.
I think you could I think you could still get that, because whenever the troops show up, let's say that they show up and where is the ape? We saw him leaving with McDonald. Then that information gets to the governor, and then we get the phone call, and he's like, I sent him on an errand. You could still have it. You would just have escalated that tone. And it's just so missing for me, because I find this whole escape from the tunnel room. I don't know. Is that the Situation Room, or is the Situation Room?
I think they call it the command room.
Command room. Thank you.
They call this the command center.
So the escape from the command center has almost
command post.
It has no tension to it, because it is simply a passive thing of, hey, okay, let's go.
Let's just walk down this tunnel.
Right.
I know they cut this moment around the action, but I mentioned kind of teleportation, and to me, Caesar also comes out of nowhere from the scene, because he was last seen with the flamethrower.
True.
And then suddenly he's just in the connection of Culp calling to jumping to the office, from the office calling McDonald, it feels like it's supposed to be a very short span of time, and somehow Caesar jumps from the flamethrower to this moment
being back working in there,
being normal, like nothing is odd or unusual. It might have been interesting if they knew they were going to make this cut. It might have been interesting to have Caesar kind of walk back in the command center and conceal the igniter for the flamethrower, and then hear the phone call, knowing that he's just been busted. Like, it would have been a nice moment, but they didn't know they were going to make that cut. Yeah. But instead, he's coming down from the upper tier and walking around. We get a nice shot of him walking around to, the first floor file cabinet, if you will, with some files or some note cards, in which we then look over Caesar's shoulder to McDonald, who's now getting the reveal. How Dane had this scripted out, if you guys wanted to know. McDonald picks the phone. He's having the conversation with Breck, and as he's having the conversation, he turns, he glances over his shoulder, angle to reveal Caesar, well in the BG. I don't know, what does well in the BG mean? B.G. Doesn't matter. What? As McDonald turns back to the phone, we realize Caesar knows he's being scrutinized.
BG, background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at something else. So I didn't hear your question. I'm sorry.
As McDonald turns back to the phone, we realize that Caesar knows he's being scrutinized, close in on McDonald. Well, I sent him out on an errand. He puts the phone down, turns to find Caesar standing behind him. Their eyes meet. McDonald hesitates for a moment. Then he reaches into the desk drawer, pulls out a pair of shackles, and says, "Come." And they start to leave out the command center. So they had it framed just a little bit differently. So right. I don't know I guess they wanted to get some better shots of Caesar because that's the only reason I could think they would have this new setup here.
I wonder, actually, that's what I was kind of looking at, was that shot, because that shot does a ton of movement. It follows him from the upper tier down.
Right.
Comes forward to a file cabinet and then pushes to the left, so we see he and McDonald in the same shot. And I just wonder if the logistical nature of, you may ride it one way, but when you get to a set,
when you build a set and everything,
right? And they get there, and I'm sure something like this, you're not going to storyboard out. You're just going to say, let's get this and let's move, let's do this. And I'm sure that logistically, it just worked since the upper tier was to the left, and to get him framed left, right instead of the opposite way. But at the same time, I'm sure they're all very excited when they get that much exposition and information in one shot. Because you hope to get, what do we figure that I think they had to be churning close to 3 minutes a day? And suddenly you've got, almost 1/3 of a minute in one shot. You're cranking it, and then you're hoping for a lot more.
We get some really nice moments of shots of Caesar as he's hearing the discovery happen behind him. Mm-hmm. What we don't see in this moment, which Dane wanted in the script, is we don't see McDonald looking really directly at Caesar and making decisions as he's looking at Caesar. There's only one brief tight moment on McDonald where he looks to the left, which is not where Caesar's at, but we're to assume that he's glancing at Caesar briefly. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, anytime the two of them are in a shot, McDonald was not even recognizing Caesar as there at all. So the logic of him going, I sent him away on an errand, is not fully realized, because at no point does he seem to be making a decision based upon Caesar being present in the room.
And, as we've discussed this too, I want to go back and to Sean's point where we were arguing back and forth about the motivations of the scene, how you do it to escalate it. I do like what is happening, that he's getting this phone call and immediately he's jumping to the defense and he's ready to lie about it. And whatever his motivations are, just like the governor's, we don't know whether it is something to a historical race relation type thing. But I do like McDonald in the moment and what he's doing. I just, watching that, it feels like nothing's happening at the same time.
McDonald has a lot of presence.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
When he's having these phone conversations. So when he sets it down and he gets up and he walks over to Caesar and puts his hand on his shoulder and says, "Come," mm-hmm. There's a lot of going on there. But his rationalization for giving the lie, I don't see that interaction between the two of them to make that connection as to why he's lying for him.
If this movie was made today, it would be a whole lot more security camera focused. So you'd see cameras everywhere, and you see McDonald as he's on the phone saying, "Oh no, I've sent him out on an error." You see him turning off camera after camera, going the way he's going to try to get him out of the building. Camera off, or